Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show where we take a whole stack of information, complex reports, and we basically pull out the most important insights just for you.
That's the goal.
Exactly. Today, we're diving into an industry that, well, it might sound incredibly niche, maybe a bit specific, but it's showing some really robust and, frankly, quite fascinating growth. We're talking about the zinc oxide varistors market.
Right, those little surge protectors, essential things.
Absolutely essential. Our source material for this deep dive is this comprehensive global market forecast report. It details sales revenue over multiple years, projects growth right out to 2033.
Includes all the compound annual growth rate figures, the CAGRs.
Got it all. Broken down by region, by country. So our mission today is pretty clear. Distill the key takeaways from this dense report. Give you a real shortcut to being well-informed about this evolving industry.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this. So first things first, let's set the stage with the big global picture. Zinc oxide varistors. Back in 2021, this market was already, just over $1 billion in sales.
A decent size already.
A chunky 1,039.95 million, to be precise. Now, fast forward to 2025, the projection is $1,384.1 million.
Okay, steady growth.
Steady growth, yeah. But here's where it gets, I think, even more interesting. By 2033, we're talking about a really significant leap, almost $2.5 billion.
Wow.
Specifically, 2,452.15 million.
So more than doubling from 2021.
Exactly. And this translates to a strong global compound annual growth rate, 7.41% over that whole period.
7.41%. That's quite solid globally.
Right. It is a solid overall forecast. But, the real story often lies, well, it's in the regional breakdown, isn't it?
Absolutely. The global number is just the start. Tells you the tide is rising, but not where the waves are biggest.
Good way to put it. So what stands out to you about that big picture number first?
Well, what immediately jumps out, I think, is that that consistent, strong growth they're projecting globally, for over a decade. A CAGR of 7.41% isn't just sort of healthy.
Right.
It indicates a really robust and expanding market for these varistors, which, maybe for listeners we should just quickly say, they're basically critical components for surge protection.
Yeah, good point. Protecting electronics, power grids.
Exactly. They're like the silent guardians, And their increasing integration into new technologies, that's what's making this market so compelling, I think.
So this global overview sets a great baseline.
It does. And understanding the regional variations, that's where we'll really see where the most dynamic shifts are happening, which parts of the world are driving this expansion most.
Okay, perfect. That's a crucial insight, the regional variations telling the real story. Let's see how that plays out. Let's zoom in on North America first.
All right.
So this market had a value of $219.741 million back in 2021. Expected to climb to $288.046 million by 2025.
Okay.
And then reach a pretty substantial $502.446 million by 2033.
$500 million just in North America.
Yep. This shows a regional CAGR of 7.202%, so slightly below the global average, interestingly.
Just slightly, yeah.
Now, looking at the countries within North America, the United States, as you'd probably expect, it's the largest piece, projected to hit $345.231 million by 2033. That's with a 7.066% CGR.
Makes sense.
Canada's also set for solid growth, reaching $73.005 million by 2033, and its CAGR is a bit higher, 7.397%.
Okay.
But here's maybe an interesting point. Mexico started smaller, around $35 million in 2021.
Yeah.
Is actually set for a faster leap, relatively speaking. Over $84 million by 2033, and its CUR, an impressive 7.6%.
Okay. So Mexico's pulling that regional average up a bit, or at least showing stronger rate of growth.
Seems like, what's your immediate read on that? Are we seeing like a particular industry surge there or something?
That's a fantastic observation. Yeah, Mexico, while smaller in, absolute dollar terms compared to the U.S., it shows that slightly higher CGR within North America, 7.6%. This could definitely signal more rapid development or adoption of technologies needing these varistors.
Like what, maybe?
Well, it's often a key indicator of where new infrastructure or maybe industrial expansion is accelerating, perhaps in manufacturing, automotive maybe,
Hmm.
or even things like renewable energy projects.
Interesting.
It makes me wonder if we'll see similar kind of unexpected growth pockets in other regions too,
Hmm.
even in, more established markets like Europe.
That's a great segue, actually, because Europe, despite being seen as, a more established economy,
Right, mature market.
it actually shows an even higher regional growth rate than North America.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. European sales as a whole are set to go from $267.578 million in 2021 all the way up to $662.326 million by 2033,
Wow, quite a jump.
giving it a really robust CAGR of 7.732%, higher than the global average, too.
That is interesting for a mature market.
Yeah. But what's truly striking here is how certain countries are just significantly outpacing that average. So, okay, large economies like Germany, France, they show solid KGRs around 7.6%, 7.8%. Pretty
Okay.
good, consistent.
But then you see some real outliers. Russia, for instance. It has an 8.066% CAGR projected.
Over 8%?
Sweden is strong too, 7.992%, nearly 8%.
Right.
And Denmark really stands out. Projected KGR of 8.097%. It's set to more than double its market size, from about $5.7 million to almost $15 million.
Denmark at 8.1%. That's significant. What do you think is driving that accelerated growth in these specific nations? Well, that over 8% CGR in Denmark. It's likely not just a random number, right? It probably reflects their the big national push for clean energy.
Ah, good point. Wind power and all that.
Exactly. Think about massive offshore wind farms. They inherently require really sophisticated surge protection for their complex grid integrations. Lots of varistors needed there.
Makes sense. And Russia. Similarly, Russia's high CAGR, that could indicate significant upgrades in, say, industrial infrastructure or maybe power grid modernization programs, things that have been planned for a while, perhaps.
Right.
So in a mature region like Europe, these higher growth rates, they often signal these distinct targeted growth pockets, suggesting specific investments in smart grids, renewables, industrial upgrades.
Within those specific countries.
Precisely, driving this very specialized demand.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how even within seemingly mature markets, you find these dynamic hotspots.
Yeah, the devil's in the details always.
Okay, now let's shift gears and discuss Asia Pacific, APAC.
Okay, the giant in terms of population and industry.
Exactly, a massive market. But it has a slightly different growth profile, actually. The regional CAGR here is 7.063%.
Ah, so lower than Europe and slightly lower than North America even.
Yeah, and lower than the global average.
Yeah.
The revenue here is projected to grow from $221.405 million in 2021 up to $496.071 million by 2033. Still more than doubling, but the rate is slower.
Interesting. What about the big players there, China and Japan?
Right, let's look at the powerhouses. China, despite its sheer size and manufacturing base, shows a CAGR of 6.64%.
Lowest so far for a major economy.
Seems like it. Japan is higher, 7.194%. India is at 6.988%. South Korea, 6.789%.
Okay, so mostly clustered around that high sixes, low sevens mark?
Pretty much. Australia is slightly higher, 7.252%. And countries like Singapore, Southeast Asia generally, they're hovering in the mid 6% range too.
It's quite interesting, isn't it, to see that relatively lower KGR for Asia Pacific compared to, say, Europe or even Africa, as we'll see, especially given the sheer market size that countries like China and Japan contribute.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
Well, while the absolute growth in dollars is obviously substantial because their industrial bases are already huge,
Right.
the rate of growth, that lower CGR, it suggests that perhaps the foundational infrastructure that requires these varistors is maybe more established already.
Ah, so less new build-out compared to some other regions.
Potentially.
Mm.
Or maybe newer, more advanced solutions are being integrated, but perhaps at a slightly slower pace than in some of the, let's say, emerging European pockets or African markets we just talked about.
Okay.
It kind of begs the question, are we seeing different stages of infrastructure build-out playing out across the globe here?
That's a sharp observation. Different stages of development leading to these varied growth patterns. Okay, let's review South America next.
Right.
Sales here are forecast to more than double, from $91.411 million in 2021 up to $206.962 million by 2033. The regional CAGR is 7.127%.
So back around the North American level, slightly below global average.
Exactly. Brazil, as you'd guess, the largest economy, accounts for a significant chunk. It's growing at a 7.159% CAGR. Very close to the regional average.
Makes sense.
But just like we saw with Mexico and North America, Peru has a notable CAGR, 7.459%.
Ah, Peru again. outpacing its larger neighbors in terms of growth rate.
Yeah, Argentina's around 7%, Colombia just under 7%, Chile a bit lower at 6.5%, but Peru stands out.
Yeah, within South America, Peru's CAGR, 7.459%, it really does stand out as particularly high, especially when you consider its smaller market size compared to, say, Brazil or Argentina.
Right.
So while Brazil still holds the lion's share of the market in the region,
Of course.
Peru's accelerated growth rate might indicate maybe specific large-scale industrial projects
Yeah.
or infrastructure developments driving that demand for varistors there.
Could be mining, maybe, or grid expansion.
Could be. It's a great example, though, of how a relatively smaller market can actually be a significant growth engine in percentage terms.
Definitely one to watch. Okay, moving over to the Middle East. Now, this region is a smaller market overall in this space.
Right, compared to the others.
Its size is expected to more than double, though, from about $22 million, $21.943 million in 2021, up to nearly $50 million, $49.779 million by 2033.
Okay, still significant growth in percentage terms.
Yes, the regional CAGR reflects that, 7.148%, pretty much in line with South America. Most countries here, like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, UAE, they show CAGRs around 6.7% to 6.8%. Solid, but not spectacular.
Okay.
But there are two clear standouts again. Egypt shows a healthier 7.398% CAGR.
Right.
And Qatar, although it's starting from a very small base, less than $500,000,
Kinda, yeah.
it has a strong projected CAGR of 7.451%, growing to just over $1 million by 2033.
Yeah, here, while the overall market size is definitely smaller,
Much smaller.
those higher growth rates in Qatar and Egypt are quite telling, I think. These represent, nascent opportunities. They
Yeah.
indicate investments in new infrastructure.
Like what, perhaps? Construction booms?
Potentially related to large-scale urban development, yes.
Yeah.
Or energy expansion projects, maybe digital transformation initiatives,
Aw.
all driving demand for these essential components, even in regions that aren't yet, major players on the global market stage.
That's like an early signal.
Exactly. An early signal of that foundational build-out starting to happen.
Fascinating. Okay, and finally, let's discuss Africa, which really stands out with very strong overall regional growth.
Ah, yes, Africa. I was waiting for this one. The numbers looked interesting.
They really do. The African market is poised for massive expansion, going from $217.869 million in 2021, already a decent size, comparable to North America or APAC back then,
Right.
to a remarkable $534.569 million by 2033.
Wow, that's more than doubling, nearly 2.5 times growth.
It is, and this results in Africa having the highest regional KGR among all the regions we've looked at, 7.678%.
Higher than Europe even. That's impressive.
It really is. And drilling down into specific countries makes even clearer. Nigeria is leading the charge here with a CAGR of 7.939%, projected to reach almost $215 million.
Nearly 8%.
And South Africa,
Yeah.
even stronger, an impressive 8.063% CAGR, slated to grow to nearly $160 million.
Africa's strong regional CAGR. Yeah, particularly the growth in Nigeria and South Africa. It's absolutely striking.
It jumps off the page.
It really does. These countries boast some of the highest KGRs globally for zinc oxide varistors, hitting over 7.9% and, like you said, over 8% respectively.
So what's the story there? Just rapid development?
Well, it really underscores where significant new development is happening. Nigeria and South Africa's explosive growth isn't just, general industrialization. It feels like a strong signal of major infrastructure build-outs.
Like power grids?
Yes, perhaps new power substations, maybe expanded mobile networks needing protection, the rapid adoption of sensitive industrial equipment, all needing robust varistor protection.
Right.
So if we connect this back to the bigger picture, this whole regional breakdown clearly shows how that global growth, that 7.41%, it's not uniform at all.
Not at all.
It's really being driven by these dynamic hotspots, often in developing or, let's say, rapidly modernizing economies.
This is exactly where the real story emerges, isn't it? When you just look at the raw numbers. Okay, the global market's expanding significantly.
Yep, nearly $2.5 billion by 2033.
But those regional and especially those country-specific AGRs, they reveal the true hotbeds of activity. Like you said, Denmark, Russia, both over 8%, South Africa over 8%, Nigeria not far behind at nearly 8%.
Specific drivers in each case, likely.
It's easy to get kind of lost in all these figures, I know, but if you take a moment to consider what this truly represents, Billions of dollars being spent on these tiny, often unseen components.
Components most people never think about.
Exactly. But they're fundamental to modern life. It just proves that even a market for something as specific as varistors can be incredibly dynamic and really geographically diverse. So, okay, let's try to summarize our deep dive here. The global zinc oxide varistors market, it's on this fascinating journey, growing from just over $1 billion back in 2021
Yep.
to projected nearly $2.5 billion by 2033.
A very healthy trajectory.
It really underscores robust, consistent growth across incredibly diverse geographies, from, established economies in Europe to rapidly developing regions in Africa. So what does this all mean, really?
Well, I think it means that even these seemingly small or very specific component markets, like zinc oxide varistors, they can act as really interesting reflections of broader trends,
Oh, so?
like industrialization, infrastructure development, technological advancements happening globally. Their consistent growth, it's like a quiet signal of these larger trends unfolding.
Okay.
The expansion of power grids, the proliferation of electronics everywhere, the increasing need for reliable surge protection in our, ever more connected world.
Yeah.
It's about moving beyond just the numbers and into the why.
Right.
A strong CAGR isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It's kind of a footprint of economic strategy, of technological adoption curves, maybe sometimes even geopolitical shifts influencing where infrastructure spending is happening.
That's a great way to frame it.
Which this kind of raises an important question, doesn't it?
You've really hit on a key point there, how these niche markets can be barometers for much larger trends. And that makes me wonder, maybe something for you, the listener, to think about. What specific underlying forces do you think might be driving this growth in varistors? Especially in those really high-growth regions we flagged: Denmark, Russia, Nigeria, South Africa.
And what's happening on the ground there?
Exactly. What new applications, what emerging technologies in those particular areas might be relying so heavily on these essential components? It's actually a great exercise, I think, to consider how these often invisible components,
The unsung heroes,
how they're truly critical to the larger industrial and technological shifts happening all around us. Something to mull over.